Noah Gragson has been indefinitely suspended by Legacy Motor Club and NASCAR for liking a meme that he saw on Instagram Reels. So if you somehow didn't see the news on Saturday, Legacy Motor Club has suspended driver Noah Gragson from the 42 car indefinitely because he liked a insensitive and some consider racist meme on Instagram Reels that had to do with George Floyd. You can look at the meme right here. I'll put it up so you can take a look at it. It's not funny. Like, I'm a person that loves offensive humor. That's just not even funny though, because the context doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense other than the fact of like the wording is unfortunately how George Floyd was murdered, and that's just facts. Like, that is what it is. You can argue in the comments all of you want. My TikTok is absolutely filled with plenty of comments. But at the end of the day, Noah Gragson did something very stupid, and that was liking this post. When you represent a brand, you represent multiple sponsors, a race team, a manufacturer, you absolutely cannot do things like this. And I see a number of people mentioning freedom of speech. What happened? Why doesn't he have freedom of speech? You have freedom of speech. There are consequences to your actions though, and Noah right now is paying the consequences for those actions. You're representing somebody, and if they don't like the way that you're representing them, this is what happens. So you can do and say what you want, but just know that there are consequences, and Noah right now is realizing that, for what you do. And if you're gonna like an insensitive meme or something, at least make sure it was funny. So many people are fake laughing at this meme, and it's just, there's no humor in it. Like, there's humor in everything, but that's just like not funny. Like, it's not original, doesn't make any sense. What does SpongeBob have to do with anything? Like, it's all very confusing. And this comes at a really bad time for Noah Gragson, considering Legacy Motor Club and TRD have already had internal discussions, at least according to The Athletic, about replacing Noah for 2024. I can go ahead and assume that that's going to happen. Now, with Martin Truex Jr. re-signing to come back to the 19 car in 2024 at Joe Gibbs Racing, that was the landing spot for John Hunter Nemechek if he was going to move up. Now, having read the Athletic article, they mentioned John Hunter as going to that 42 car to replace Noah Gragson. And with Noah now in the bad standing with the team, I'm sure TRD is absolutely not happy about it, because if you consider the three manufacturers, I would consider TRD to be the more progressive leaning one. They're certainly not going to be happy about Noah liking a meme of that nature. So it's safe to assume Noah Gragson likely will never be back in the 42 car. They've ran so poorly this year, 0 top 10 finishes. JJ Gilley has a top 10 finish on a Rick Ware car. He's 33rd in points. He's dead last amongst drivers that are full-time in the Cup Series points, worse than Ty Dillon, somehow. Only 3 spots worse than Austin Dillon, which doesn't get talked about enough. Sorry for the ricochet shot at the Dillon boys. My apologies. Either way, Noah Gragson's had an absolutely abysmal year. So there's really no point in bringing him back just for him to face the media that will 100% want to talk to him about it. And it's too much of a distraction for a team that's already going through a transition phase, not only taking on Jimmy Johnson last year as a co-owner, undergoing a complete name change a month before the season this year, and then switching manufacturers next year. They're in a lame duck season with Chevrolet. That's why they got Josh Berry to fill in for Noah Gragson this weekend at Michigan, because Josh is in a lame duck season with Chevrolet as well, as he heads off to Stewart-Haas Racing and Ford next year. So the chances of us ever seeing Noah Gragson back in a Legacy car seem pretty slim to none at this point. There are other drivers Legacy can get to put in that 42 car going forward, and I think that's what they're absolutely going to do. On the other side, though, if you got to look at Noah Gragson and what does his future entail. I saw a lot of people making jokes. Oh, Hendrick Motorsports will sign him. Hendrick Motorsports will sign him because they signed Kyle Larson. Make your jokes and everything like that. But Noah continually does dumb things. I think Noah's good for the sport. He's a personality, right? He's maybe thinks too highly of himself at times and thinks that he needs to be the guy trying to walk down and fight Ross Chastain, and he gets rocked in the face. But Noah, like, he does like racing. He does try to represent the sport and do sponsor things, but then he just goes off and does or says really dumb things, and you're like, that's not great, dude. And you would think that over time he would learn and he would grow up from that and going forward, and it just doesn't seem like that's happening. So I don't think I know he's not going to be back in the Cup Series next year. Let's just be completely honest. Basically every Cup seat is spoken for outside of realistically his, and then all the other seats, his name has not come up in any discussions for those. And why would it? Because he's had an absolutely abysmal year. There are obviously Xfinity options for him as well. Again, I don't know what his budget is, especially now considering this. I'm sure his sponsors like Black Rifle Coffee and stuff will probably stick by him because they have a history of outside of that, Noah he'll probably have options in Xfinity. Everybody's like, oh, he'll just go back to JRM. I'm sure Noah Gragson wishes he was still at JRM this year with how terrible and poorly he's run at Legacy Motor Club this year. And it's not all his fault, too. Have a transition year and where it gets announced pretty early that you're switching manufacturers and Chevy just basically cuts you out of everything. It's not great. Eric Jones, on the other hand, his teammate does have 4 top 10s. Noah has 0, so there is a bit of a difference there. But I don't think he ends up back at JRM. I don't think Dale Jr. is going to take that burden on. There are obviously other smaller teams that he could head to, or he could head back to the trucks and try to do a Matt DiBenedetto and sign with a small team and hopefully be able to try to turn that into something and luck into a win at Talladega or something along those lines. But I don't know what Noah Gragson's future holds. It just doesn't look very great at the moment for him. For Legacy Motor Club, they come out looking pretty shiny in this whole situation because, well, it wasn't them. It was one of their drivers that did it. They immediately, as soon as the screenshot came to light, cut them off, and they were like, we're done. We're not dealing with this because it doesn't represent our brand values and everything like that. You can read their statement right here. But, yeah, at the end of the day, Legacy looks pretty good. They're going to get John Hunter Nemechek. They become part of the TRD family. They have Eric Jones, who's a very stout race car driver. Probably deserves to be on a better ride than what he's in. And hopefully the TRD program can turn Legacy Motor Club into, a 2311 where you're competitive every weekend. And again, more competitive cars is good for the sport. So we desperately need that to happen. But yeah, Jimmy Johnson, of course, probably leans more left than your typical NASCAR driver. So it doesn't shock me that if this decision came down from him, that it happened because, he's been a strong supporter of social movements and everything like that. And you just can't do it. At the end of the day, you just can't do stuff like that when you are someone in a position like Noah Gragson where you represent sponsors. I don't care what people say. You can say and do what you want, but unless you're the one that has got your name on the building and you're writing all the checks, you're not the guy that can go out there and just do whatever you want because things like this happen. So, Noah apologized for it. You can read his apology right here. And, was it heartfelt? I don't know. He obviously has a history of doing dumb things, his dad doing really bad things, so he's not adverse to controversy, but he certainly stepped in it this time, and I think that, is it worth suspending him indefinitely for? I don't know. That wording came from NASCAR, and I'm sure that he'll have to attend some sort of counseling and sensitivity training and everything like that, which he probably should, because he certainly has said and done things where you're like, not the best. But, yeah, I don't know when we're going to see Noah Gragson again and what his next steps are going to be. Either way, like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at BreakHardBlog.